So we're ready for baseball with Curtis Granderson leading it off, hitting .246, 27 home runs, 67 driven in. And he's swiped 20 bases this year. And the first pitch of the game is a good fastball over the outside corner. What do we expect from Daniel Hudson today, Mike?
Well, I hope a lot of first pitch strikes like that. Not afraid to hit the corners, but again, making sure he gets ahead of these Detroit hitters.
And that ball is hit awfully hard. Rios back. He can only look up. And just like that, the 20th home run Granderson has hit on the road, his 28th overall, 68th run driven in, and an ominous beginning for the Sox as the Tigers take a 1-0 lead.
Clearly not the way that Daniel wanted to start this game off. First pitch hit in the corner, doing nice job. AJ setting up, trying to bring one inside off the corner, but that ball tailed right back over the middle. Curtis had a great at-bat in the first game against us, driving Jermaine to the fence, and unfortunately this one got over it.
Placido Polanco looks at a fastball for a strike. He's hitting .290, 10 home runs, 71 driven in, and if you're looking for co-MVPs, I think it would be Polanco and Cabrera, who's driven in 100. Sinker misses inside, evens the count at 1-1. So you've taken a look at this Detroit team for 2 games up close and personal. What do you think about them this year? That one popped up to the right side. We'll get back to Mike's observations.
I like that a lot better than the first one. I tell you what, this is a good ball club, and you can see why they're dangerous, which we saw last night in those last 4.5 innings. I think like every ball club in the American League Central, they seem to have some weaknesses, but when they get it rolling, they're really dangerous top to bottom. I think they've got 8 guys with double-digit home runs, which is a little bit unique.
Clete Thomas hitting .246 with 7 home runs, 39 driven in. Looks at a fastball for a strike. So 3 hitters, and Hudson has been ahead of all of them. Tigers lead 1-0 on a leadoff homer by Curtis Granderson. And that's a good breaking ball down. And Thomas in an 0-2 hole.
Clete came in last night for Maglio, pinch running, as I recall. So there may be a little bit more to Mags getting a day off today than just.
Line drive center field, easily played by Scott Posednik, and he puts it away for out number 2. And I agree with you, because I think if Jim Leland thought that Maglio could go 100% today in what for them is a critical game, he would probably be out there. He came into this series hitting .295. He's had a good series. But Thomas gets a start today. Now, that's a big improvement on defense, a big improvement on speed, but a world of experience for Maglio Ordonez.
Well, and someone that can tie up a game, get you a lead with the power that Maglio has, and as you said, the experience that he brings to this team. I got to believe that's a big loss for them. And as you spoke about, every game for Detroit from this point in, our 3 here, the 4 against Minnesota, and then the final 3 against us. I mean, it's a playoff game every day for these guys.
And one of the guys leading the way, Miguel Cabrera, 32 home runs. He's driven in 100, and he comes in hitting .331. Hudson's behind 3-0. 6th straight year in which Cabrera has driven in 100 or more. And that's a lot of consistency. So the fastball for a strike, and it's 3-1.
Well, and you add to the fact that he's played in over 150 games this year. It's got to be very comforting for a manager having that type of production, as well as someone that's out there every day for you.
On the outside corner, count goes full. Well, Cabrera came over as a third baseman, but they realized that he was a minus third baseman, but they moved him across the diamond. He's become a plus first baseman. They're very happy with his defensive contributions. The offense speaks for itself. You can see it there. He's 4th in the league in hitting, tremendous power, and he hits tough pitchers as well as he hits the 4s and 5s. Outside corner, strike 3. Cabrera can't believe the call by Wally Bell. Nonetheless, the Tigers get a run, 1-0, with the Sox coming to bat. AJ, who's had a great year hitting third, then Dye, Kotze, Ramirez, Carlos Quentin, Chris Getz, and Alex Rios playing right field and hitting ninth. Flo's defensive setup, and now they'll line up behind Jackson. It'll be Guillen, Granderson, and Thomas left to right with Inge, Santiago, Polanco, and Cabrera. Laird behind the plate, and Edwin Jackson on the hill. He's the U.S. Cellular starting pitcher. He's 13-7 this year, a hard-throwing right-hander, came over from Tampa Bay. His ERA, as you can see, 3.25. He's also pitched over 200 innings, and they got a tremendous year out of him. You adjust to a guy with a fastball in the mid-90s. What do you do, Mike?
Well, you kind of, for me at least, I'm shortening up my swing a little bit, maybe even choking up, and a little bit wider stance.
Scott Posednik leading it off at 3:02, and he takes one low and in. Scott's had a strong year, 6 home runs, 45 driven in. And that fastball is up and away. Now, Wally Bell called a very generous strike on strike 3 to Cabrera. We're going to take a look at it, but tell me what that does to a hitter's psyche.
Well, if you're the White Sox, you're thinking, okay, Wally's got a bigger strike zone, so anything close, I've got to be up there hacking, fouling it off with 2 strikes, but when I get a good pitch early in the count, I better be swinging and better be making contact.
2-1 pitch, line drive, center field. Granderson coming on, but he can't get to it. Base hit for Scott Posednik. He's battling to keep that batting average above 300.
Scotty doing a good job here, as we talked about, getting ahead in the count, getting a good pitch, and putting a good swing on it. Watch this, head down, right through it. Curtis Granderson might not have gotten the best jump. It looked like he might have had a chance at this one. Came up, 1 hop. Now we get to put some pressure on them.
Promising start as Gordon Beckham comes up at 268, 14 home runs, 59 driven in. And Jackson paying some attention. Now, Jackson's had problems in the first inning. This has really been the trouble spot, and when he's had his problems about the last 5 or 6 starts, he's given up some home runs. So that ball that usually sunk, not sinking anymore, and he's lost that little extra hop on the high fastball. Runner going. Laird to second base, and he's got it. So not the best jump in the world for Scott Posednik. And Gerald Laird, who had gunned down 42% of the runners who have tried to steal against him, throws him out.
Well, and it wasn't the best of jumps, but Edwin also had a pretty quick motion to the plate. It was a fastball. And Gerald, again, you talk about how good he is defensively. Definitely someone that should be considered for the Gold Glove back there, throwing out 41% of the runners this year. Leading the league, he just showed it why.
Good fastball for a strike, and the count was at 1-1. You saw Polanco. He was actually taking the throw in front of the bag to make sure that he got the tag on before Posednik could get to the bag.
Well, for a lot of second basemen, that's a little bit unnerving because certain guys come in spikes first, and if you're in front of the bag, there's a chance to have some of those get your shin or ankle. But knowing that Scotty is a head first guy, it's a little bit more comforting for a second baseman and shortstop to go ahead and get in front of the base, making sure that when you put that tag down, you're showing the umpire you are in front of the bag and not giving a runner a chance to put an arm in underneath the tag.
1-2 pitch. 1 hopper right at Polanco, and he's going to make this play easily. I talked to Mike Scioscia about catching, and not many did it better than Scioscia did it. And he said he tries to impart on his catchers, if you're going to miss at all, miss to the first base side of second because there's some outs there. If you miss to the third base side, if you pull that throw across, there's no outs to the third base side of second base.
No, that's exactly right. And Gerald, again, on that inside pitch, did a very good job of coming up and making sure he gave his second baseman, Polanco, a chance to put the tag on it on Scotty Pod.
AJ comes up in a 1 hopper, and this is going to be a relatively easy inning. So 3 up and 3 down with the thrown out stealing. And we'll go to the top of the second inning. Cellular Bears postgame live. Pat Boyle and former Bears Jim Miller, Jerry Azuma, and Dan Jiggets break it all down. Plus, Kip Lewis brings you interviews with the players. U.S. Cellular Bears postgame live tonight, immediately after the game, only on Comcast Sportsnet, fans' best friend. Aubrey Huff to lead it off. He's hitting .244, 15 home runs, 85 driven in. Most of those numbers, though, accumulated with the Baltimore Orioles. He struggled since coming over to the Tigers.
Absolutely right, Steve. A surprising 200 batting average and only 2 home runs. Because this guy is a good hitter. He's hit everywhere he's played in the major leagues.
Quickly, Hudson falls behind 2-0, and the one thing you can't do to veteran hitters is pitch from behind. They'll be very lively at the ballpark today. And that fastball catches the outside corner. Appears that Wally Bell's going to have a little bit more of a liberal strike zone today, and that's certainly to the benefit of the pitchers.
Well, and as you talked about before, hitters have to be aware of that. And where you find that out is when you're sitting on the bench and your other teammates are hitting, or when you're in the field.
3-1 pitch, and he throws a high fastball by him. Well, that's the difference between watching the game and observing the game. There's a lot of guys on that bench that watch the game but don't observe it. And so consequently, when they come to bat, they don't know what the zone is going to be. But they do know that that zone is not that wide.
Aubrey Huff taking that one, not a chance. As we talked about, Cabrera struck out on a pitch that might have been off the plate. Gordon Beckham in the field saying, you know what, if he's going to call that, I'm going to have to swing at it. And he actually put a good pass on that and hit it pretty hard to second.
Well, that's also a consequence of that pitch that Cabrera took for strike 3.
Exactly. Another reason why Gordon Beckham is just impressing his coaching staff and I think everyone in Chicago since he's been up here.
Carlos Guillen at .256, 11 home runs, 39 driven in, and most of his power from the left side. He looks at a high fastball. Outfield, a step or two to right center field. Guillen now a left fielder, and actually in this series he's played a very good left field, and he's got a strong and accurate arm. And again, Hudson falls behind 2-0. This isn't the way Daniel Hudson should be pitching.
Now, we've had a couple great starting pitching performances in this series, both with Jake and with Freddie getting ahead, throwing almost a 3-to-1 strike to ball ratio, and Daniel, unfortunately, looking a lot more like 50-50 here.
3-0. And there's some pitchers who can pitch from behind. There's other pitchers, and you know that in this, his second start against a team that's in first place, Daniel Hudson has to have a lot of adrenaline. He is a sinker baller. His straight change is his second best pitch, and so he's probably got to wait a little bit until that adrenaline burns off, because sinker ballers are most vulnerable in the first couple of innings. They try to overthrow the ball, it straightens out. They don't get near the same kind of movement that they'll have later on.
Well, as you look at him giving up 3 earned runs against Minnesota in his last start, what you don't see there was only 1 of those that were earned. He really pitched pretty well.
Now he's got to make a tough pitch. Huff doesn't have much speed, but it's a 3-1 count. Again, a good solid hitter. That one down, and it's back-to-back walks for Daniel Hudson. Another something we didn't see against Minnesota was control issues. That brings up Brandon Inge, who's had a pretty tough series. Hitting .230, 27 home runs, 79 driven in.
It sounds pretty good, except for these last couple days. Our Sox pitchers have really had his number.
He's been swinging at the invisible ball. Outfield straightaway, fairly deep all the way around, and that off-speed breaking ball taken for a strike.
Good job by AJ there, thinking, you know what, we want to get the sinker, we want his fastball to loosen up and start to drop, but it's been high and it's been straight. Let's start with something else.
And Hudson got it over the plate. Little looper to right center field. Rios coming over, and he puts it away. And there's no chance of going anywhere for Aubrey Huff. He just wanted to make Alex make the throw, but that shallow fly ball was not going to yield 90 feet to either of these two base runners.
Well, he's probably looking to see if Scotty Podsednik is going to be catching that ball, knowing his momentum may be taking him away. Good job of base running the minute you see Alex behind it, knowing Alex's arm maybe a step or two, and that's it.
Gerald Laird hitting .232 with 4 home runs, 32 driven in. He had 3 hits last night. And another off-speed breaking ball taken for a strike. So if you can't get the fastball over the plate, go to something else. And for AJ, he's already into plan B, at least for the time being.
Well, and it gives Daniel a chance to find his fastball. The longer he's out there on the mound, you don't want to have a youngster like this have to give up too many. Oh my gosh, great catch by Scotty Pod. Looked like he didn't quite pick it up, threw it to second, and we've got a double play.
And out of the inning. So a fine play by Posednik. He doubles up Huff at second base. And that's it for the top of the second. We head to the bottom of the second inning with the Tigers leading 1-0. Scotty comes across, makes the play, and some bad base running by Aubrey Huff because he has plenty of time to get back. He just doesn't. And that gets the Sox out of the top of the second inning in what could have been a big inning.
Well, we've talked about when there's a walk to lead off an inning, how over 50% of the time that scores. With 2 walks, you would think it would be even a higher percentage. Scotty Pod with a great jump and a great diving catch and coming up quickly, realizing how far Aubrey was off second base.
Jermaine Dye steps up. 27 home runs, 78 driven in, hitting .251. Been a disappointing second half of the year for Jermaine. And he's ahead 2-0.
Jermaine second in home runs only to Paul Konerko on the team right now. And yeah, to your point, what a great first half of the season. Big reason we were in the position we were.
And he pops that ball up to the right side. Cabrera calling for it. And he'll take it. Well, Jermaine had 52 runs batted in at the All-Star break, and unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out particularly well this second half of the year. But here's a move that has worked out very well. Kenny Williams acquiring Mark Kotsay for Brian Anderson. Boston Red Sox decided that they could part with a veteran, and this is a guy that could figure prominently in the plans for next year. Looks at a fastball down. Mark comes in hitting .283, 4 home runs, 20 driven in. Good look at Edwin Jackson, who's been the #2 starter for the Tigers this year. And he falls behind 2-0. This is the second straight that he's fallen behind.
Well, you talk about how strong Mark's numbers are as a part-time player. He's actually hitting over 300 since he's come over to the White Sox. He provided a whole bunch of leadership to these young guys, teaching them how to be able to come off the bench and play once or twice a week, as well as being in that great pinch hitting role.
And that's something that's pretty difficult to do, is learn how to hit off the bench, but you have to be a veteran to do that. Good fastball for a strike. That evens the count at 2-2. A lot of teams that have young kids coming off the bench it's almost inconceivable if they're going to hit the real good setup men and closers, and if that's what they have to do, it's tough for them. But if you get a guy who's been a starter, now you're putting him on the bench, especially a left-hander, with the preponderance of the premier setup men being right-handed, the premier closers being right-handed. That left-handed veteran is invaluable. 3-2 pitch, and he misses high and away, and Katse draws a walk. Here's our Heineken picks to Clay. The crew is going to go with Gordon Beckham. Hawk and Mike are going to go with Mark Katse. And Lisa, Layla, Larry, and of course Tex.
There you go.
And I are going to go with A.J. Pierzynski. So Alexei Ramirez comes up, 278, 15 and 67 on the power numbers. Because he is a very good first ball fastball hitter, Jackson starts him out with a slider.
Now when Jackson has to tip his cap to those advanced scouts for the Tigers.
Short lead by Katse. And another breaking ball, and this turned out to be a great trade for the Tigers. Tampa Bay decided that they needed Matt Joyce on December 11th of last year, and they gave Edwin Jackson to the Tigers. Last year, Jackson was 14 and 11 in 31 starts. That's a pretty nice year for a team that won 97 games. The 0-2 pitch, grounded to the left side. Inge has it. Second for one to first. He beats the play at first.
Good hustle by Alexei. Exactly. I mean, even though we're out of the pennant race here, it's nice to see Alexei put his head down, swung over another slider, slow ground ball. Inge actually on this one gets rid of it really quickly, off foot, but gives a good feed to Polanco, who does a really nice turn. Alexei hustling down the line, beats it.
We don't know what's going to happen with Carlos Quentin, but we do know that hustle allowed the Sox another out in the inning. Because if you're not going down there with everything you have, it's going to be a double play, and it's on to the third. So 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Sox trail by 1. Carlos Quentin looks at a slider low and away.
And we did see Carlos yesterday put us, what we thought at the time was give us a pretty comfortable lead with that home run that he hit, putting us up 5-0 at the time.
That one fouled straight back, and Rick Knapp having to do a little work with Edwin Jackson the last 3 starts or so, because he was rushing, and when you do that you can't really stay on top of the ball, and so he slowed him down, showed him the tapes of what he was doing wrong, and Jackson is starting to throw the ball a whole lot better. And there's a look at Rick. That slider misses down, so a 2-1 count on Carlos Quentin, who's got 18 home runs. He's driven in 49. Career against the Tigers, he's been a very good hitter.
That's solid numbers.
Especially when you consider that their park is very much a pitcher's park.
Very expansive.
Breaking ball misses up, and there was a fake at first. Ramirez apparently couldn't get a jump, but you figure if he was going to fake, and a lot of hitters, especially right-hand hitters, don't really like a guy that's going to do a whole lot of movement if they're not going to go at first. Laird has already gunned down Posednik, and he
keeping him close just in case. 3-1. You don't want to let him run. Carlos get a good ball in the gap, and all of a sudden you score a run. We talked about what helps a pitcher understand hitters. That last shot you saw, folks, were some scouts, advanced scouts for other teams, and every ballpark has a half dozen of those guys of teams that the White Sox will be playing. There goes Alexei, and Carlos with a big swing, following it straight back.
There's a look at Gordon Lakey, who's from Philadelphia. A number of others advancing for the playoffs. And they're writing down all of the tendencies of Detroit. They're writing down what the outfielders do, what they set up. Does their throw tail? Does it go straight?
To your point, what are pitchers throwing on first pitches? What are relievers coming in certain situations doing? And passing that information on to the teams.
Runner goes, line drive right center field. Thomas can't get to this one. Lexi's going to score. And Carlos coasts into second base. So the game is tied at 1, and the hustle to first base kept the inning alive for Carlos Quentin to drive in his 50th run of the year and tie the game at 1.
It's little things that win ball games, and this was one of them. We've talked about staying on the ball. We've talked about giving yourself a chance, not giving up outs. Ball was down, probably ball 4. Carlos kept his head down, swinging through it, using the whole ballpark, something that we haven't seen from him a lot this year, but as he did last year, having such a strong season, there's a lot of hits in right center and down that right field line.
Brings up Chris Getz, hitting .264, 2-31 in the power numbers, and he swings at a fastball and fouls it straight back. So Curtis Granderson led it off with a home run. Carlos Quentin ties it up on a double. And we're tied at 1. Outfield playing Chris a couple of steps to left center field. The changeup misses away. The count evens at 1-1.
We've talked about the future, and this is one of the guys that, as I've watched them this year, Steve, I really like the way he plays second base.
I think he's had a very solid year when you consider that he's been there most of the season. Nick's getting some play, but except for the injury where he had an oblique problem, Chris Getz has done a real good job, and he's played just about every day.
Well, and that oblique has taken away some of his speed, which at the time he had 25 stolen bases and only 2 caught stealings. I mean, that is an incredible stolen base percentage.
Little pop up to the left side. Inge going over, and he puts it away. But the White Sox get a run, and we head into the top of the 3rd inning, tied at 1.
Scoop on the White Sox, check out my blog, The Sox Drawer, at csnchicago.com, brought to you by Toshiba.
Thank you, our Chuck. And Ramon Santiago to lead it off, hitting .278. 7 home runs, driven in 31. Hitting 9th, he's a switch hitter. And he's done some good work against the Sox this year as he fouls that one straight back. Santiago and Everett combined have driven in 75 runs as they split the duties at shortstop. Santiago actually with more power from the left side, but equally as good a hitter, and he laces that ball into the gap. Sednick comes over. Santiago takes the big turn but has to pull up. Good play by Scott as he cut it off, because I think Santiago, without the great speed, was still thinking about 2.
Oh, he came out of that box hard. Scotty got a great jump on the ball, got behind it, good hard throw to second base through a perfect strike, and Santiago, he held him to a single.
Kansas City in the bottom of the second. It's a 0-0 game. It was Zach Greinke on the mound for Kansas City. Curtis Granderson, who homered his first time up. And Hudson paying attention to Santiago.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Steve, about sinker ball pitchers and how when they come out of the bullpen, they've got a raucous, excited crowd, how sometimes they throw too hard and they keep it straight. Talk a little bit more about that, if you would.
Well, we're seeing it with Hudson. A home run, a pop-up, a fly ball, then the strikeout. Then a fly ball and a fly ball double play and a line drive. And that's been everything but ground balls early in this one. And Hudson has to throw ground balls to be effective. So that tells me if you're a sinker baller and you should be making your living with ground balls, as soon as that adrenaline burns off and you're a little less strong than you are starting out the game, then you're going to start seeing the ball hit on the ground. That one popped back. And a 2-1 count to Curtis Granderson. The oddity about Granderson is it has not been a good year. He struck out much more than he did last year after really cutting down those strikeouts, but 20 of the 28 home runs have come on the road. It shows you how tough it is in Detroit to hit the ball out of the park. Santiago with a pretty good lead at first. And that sinker down and out of the zone. So the count moves to 3-1, and once again, Hudson behind these Detroit hitters. And there's not a lot of outs when you're consistently behind guys. Base hit right field. Rios gets to the ball quickly and gets it back in. So you can pretty much take a look at any pitcher and figure out what that ERA is going to be by looking at how many 2-0-3-1 counts he has.
Well, and to your point right here, that ball was straight as an arrow. Daniel not having a lot of confidence, putting it right over the middle of the plate. Curtis Granderson, just a nice swing and getting it through that infield.
Detroit's not a world beater type team. They come in 10th in batting, 5th in pitching, and 6th in fielding. And of course, with pitching and defense going hand in hand, they've been fairly consistent all year long in those departments. Fernando Rodney has been terrific out of the bullpen, although he's been a nail biter. He's only blown one save. Placido Polanco comes up, and he looks at one outside. He's a guy that can handle the bat.
Are you a little surprised that he's not bunting here? Or do you think Jimmy Leland, knowing how well they played those last 4 innings last night, is just letting them keep that, trying to let them keep that momentum going?
Well, knowing he's not a strikeout guy, he probably wants to see if Hudson can throw strikes to it. 1-0 count. Fly ball left field, easily in the glove of Carlos Quentin, and so he swings at the second pitch, was a breaking ball away. And there's one out. Runners have to stay put. Brings up Clete Thomas, who flied out in the first inning. Thomas playing in place of Magglio Ordonez. Ramirez jockeying behind Santiago at second base. Now he moves back to his position. And Daniel floats that one wide of the plate.
To your point, Thomas this year has played in 96 games, knowing the injuries that the Tigers have had throughout the course of this season, and has done well, hitting about 250.
Fly ball well hit to right field, but Rios right there to make the play. Santiago tagging up. He'll move into third. Hey, Sox fans, join the team in sunny Glendale, Arizona for Spring Training 2010. With lower prices, this will be the best baseball vacation ever. Visit www.whitesox.com/springtravel or call 1-800-892-7687. So AJ out to have a word with Daniel Hudson, because he's going up against the guy that wasn't exactly a one-man gang, but was a gang last night with 4 hits and 4 driven in, and that's Miguel Cabrera.
Pretty doggone close.
Struck out looking the first time up. And if there were 2 plates, it would have been over the second one outside.
That one almost got the left-hander batter's box, split that one, but we'll take that call again. Wally, every now and then an umpire misses a call as well. That one was good for us, ending the first inning on a called third strike that, in our opinion, was a little bit low and a little bit out of the zone.
Kansas City's taken a 3-0 lead over Minnesota in the second, and Hudson has fallen behind 2-0 here.
This is the one hitter. Well, again, there's a lot of major leaguers you don't want to fall behind 2-0, but the one guy on the Detroit team that's got over 100 RBIs, over 30 home runs, not the one you want to have to pitch behind on this.
He pops it up, and Chris Getz is going to put this one away. And Daniel Hudson's going to get out of it. So despite the couple of hits, the Tigers don't score. And after 2.5, it's tied at 1. Very fortunate for Mark Burley's perfect game. Something commemorating the Beckham gets Knicks freshman campaigns. Konerko and Dye, 300th career home runs at back-to-back. And A.J. Pierzynski bought 1,000 innings for the 8th straight season. So the Iron Man of the Sox. And if you're sitting in the right place, you'll win something that commemorates some of the real nice accomplishments of this 09 season. Alex Rios steps in, and he's down in an 0-2 hole, hitting .244, 17 home runs, 68 driven in, and probably last 4 or 5 days he's looked much better than he's looked at any time since putting on a White Sox uniform.
I tell you what, he's only hit $170 since coming over, but I think everyone, to your point, has in the last week or so started to see the reasons why this young man got the contract he did, has put up the numbers he has historically, and hopefully now starting to feel comfortable with the coaching staff and starting to make adjustments to living in Chicago. A little sign of what the future holds.
It's a good hard slider low and away, and that's going to be it. So in an 0-2 hole, Alex expands his strike zone. This ball is well off the plate.
Well, as we talked about from the first inning on, knowing, especially being in the outfield, you can see where the umpires are calling strikes. Balls that are off the plate, you're going to have to battle. That one, he just missed a little bit.
Got Posednik, who led off the game with a single, then got thrown out trying to steal. To the fastball up and away. Huge game for Detroit, because they've got 4 coming up with Minnesota, and what a difference it is if you have a 3-game lead as opposed to a 2-game or 1-game lead. But with Greinke going to the mound already up 3-0 and pitching for a Cy Young award, because that's what it comes down to in his last 2 starts, I think Detroit has to feel pretty good when they look up at that board. The 2-0 pitch, and that one misses off the plate. So Jackson has fallen behind 3-0.
Good eye by Scotty Pod there. Again, good leadoff hitter, getting on base any way he can. And to your point, you're exactly right. Detroit much rather have a 3-game lead versus 2, knowing that if you split, you're still up 3. Whereas if all of a sudden you only have a 2-game lead when they come in, if you lose 3 out of 4, it's all of a sudden tied with those last 3 games.
Minnesota's been the hottest team in baseball. They've won 11 of their last 12 games, and they've won 5 in a row heading into today. Ground ball to second. And Polanco puts it away. The sure-handed second baseman who's going to be a free agent. And for a whole lot of teams out there, I would say if you're looking at infielders, Sean Figgins would be probably 1, and Placido Polanco might be 1A. Certainly he'd be behind Figgins because Figgins gives you a little more flexibility, gives you a switch hitter, and gives you speed. But Polanco is an exceptionally smart baseball player, and he will have a lot of value. And supposition is that the Tigers, who are locked into some pretty bad contracts, might not have enough to sign him.
Good hard swing by Gordon Beckham there. To your point, I mean, there are very few infielders that you can look around the league and say, I want you to hit almost 300. He's hitting 290 right now. And make less than 5 errors over the course of the year while playing over 150 games. He's only got 2 so far this year in terms of the errors.
Now, he's just a tremendous player. He came up with St. Louis. They had an older baseball guy in their system by the name of George Kissel, who for years taught all of their farmhands how to play not only professional baseball, not only how to play Major League Baseball, but how to play, most importantly, winning baseball. 0-2 count on Beckham. Outfield toward right center, and that one misses just off the corner. And Gordon, first time up on a slider, protecting on the pitch away, grounded right at Polanco, who's handled his position flawlessly. You would expect nothing less. So that fastball misses up. What you've seen of Gordon Beckham, and I know you saw him when he first got here on June 4th, to what you see today, how do you rate him?
Oh, I mean, he's a 10 across the board for me. Unfortunately, popped up on that inside fastball. Inge looking like he's calling everybody off right around the mound.
And he makes the play and puts it away. And so 3 up and 3 down in the 3rd inning. We'll head to the top of the 4th, with this game tied at 1. Black Duck is an Iron Man. He's here every day, and who was the last Detroit pitcher to hit an inside the park home run? Detroit player to hit an inside the park home run. He could have been a pitcher. I don't think he was. That one misses high and away to Aubrey Huff, who drew a base on balls to lead off the 2nd inning, and then was doubled off second base. Little chopper, going to be an easy play for Getz, and he throws him out. Visit the official online shop of the White Sox at whitesox.com. Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including officials' caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. Shop the ChicagoWhiteSox.com shop.
I like that shot right there, Dad with his kids out here. We saw a lot of that yesterday. It was a great day to start the day off, for me at least, coming out here to the ballpark, filling in for Hawk, but brought a bunch of kids out from the Bull Sox Academies that were doing a fundraiser in conjunction with Gordon Beckham, raising a bunch of gloves with the White Sox to hand out to the inner city kids. Gordon met them after batting practice, signed a couple autographs. There were kids everywhere, and we get up 5-0. I thought it was going to be a great day, and unfortunately the tide turned on us last night.
That ball fouled off to the left. Well, I think Gordon at a very young age has figured this out, and I think that he's going to be a terrific professional. He's got a real good sense of what Major League life is all about. I think he also has a good sense of the obligations that the players have toward the fans. He threw a high fastball by Guillen so quickly, 2 up and 2 down. And there was a little something on this one.
Well, and you talked about what happens when you get ahead of a hitter versus getting behind. AJ ahead 2-0. Go ahead, went ahead and said, call it. Give me that high fastball. Put one up in his eyes. And now hopefully this is giving Daniel a little bit of confidence. To your point, relaxing now, letting some of that adrenaline go and being able to hit the glove down. But when AJ calls for something up, he can still put it there.
Missed with a slider off the outside corner to Brandon Inge, who flew out in the second inning. Count goes to 2-0, and this is a guy you got to be careful with because he is so strong, and he's got one swing, and that's to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Count goes to 3-0.
And you hate to see this from a young pitcher. I mean, a couple quick outs, you feel like he's finding his groove, his release point, all of a sudden falling behind 1-2-3. And to your point, Brandon, one of the top home run hitters for this Tiger ball club, and was actually in the home run hitting contest of the All-Star game.
3-1 pitch is popped up again, and Rios almost in his tracks, able to make the catch. So quickly 3 up and 3 down as Daniel Hudson has found his release point, and will hit to the bottom of the 4th inning. The game tied at 1. The last Detroit player to hit an inside the park home run. And the reverse duck, and the answer is Curtis Granderson. Back on August 26th of 2007 against the New York Yankees. There's the local product, Curtis Granderson, who hit his 24th leadoff home run against Daniel Hudson. That's a franchise record. That franchise has been around a long time. So A.J. Pierzynski, who grounded out to end that first inning, takes a fastball for a strike. AJ's had an outstanding year. The usual durability, 8 years in a row catching over 1,000 innings. But since moving into the 3 spot, he's started to drive in many more runs.
Well, you look at the way the lineup is set up today. Ozzie did a great job. He put Getz at 8, Rios at 9, and Scotty leading off. Those are your 3 base runners, all that had 20-plus stolen bases. And when those guys get on and you're a number 3 hitter, you're going to find a lot of singles end up being RBIs versus, and again, we love Paul, we love Jermaine, we love our big hitters, Carlos, but sometimes when they're on second, you hit a line drive single, they're not necessarily going to score.
Well, that's been one of the big problems this year because the top and bottom of the order have been pretty solid. It's been the middle that has been problematic. The count goes to 2-2 on AJ. Outfield playing him a step or 2 into left center field. Hit right at Inge, who gets it on the short hop and fires it across. He's got a cannon for an arm. So this is a guy that's been behind the plate and now using that strong arm at third base well wide of the bag.
Well, you can see the catcher coming out at him on this one, get right in front of it and smother it. And then you also saw the catcher saying, I'm just going to bring it right from my ear, throw it to first like I'm throwing out a base runner. And that was a strike across the infield, about belt high all the way across.
Jermaine Dye popped up the first time. Gerald Laird has a very strong arm. I'm not sure there's another guy on that field that has a stronger arm than Brandon Inge.
Well, something tells me there's a little bit of frustration in that ball going across the infield the way Brandon's had a series against us. For him, at least, one to remember, even though we've split the first 2 games.
Jackson ahead 0-2. Outfield now shades a couple of steps toward right center for Jermaine. As Jackson tries to bury that ball inside, but misses. Get the benefit of a call on 0-1 and figured, well, let me see how far that inside corner stretches. Fouled that ball off.
Well, to your point, some of these umpires, when they see a pitcher, and give me your thoughts on this, as a hitter, if a pitcher could hit a corner and he could then just go a little bit further out and a little bit further out, the umpire would give him that call. But if he would be down the middle, out, he would rarely get that pitch just off the plate.
Easy ground ball to shortstop. Santiago comes up with it, throws it across, and that's just human nature. I mean, if you put yourself in the place of the umpire and you're looking in a spot and the guy's throwing it there consistently, then he moves it a little bit further out, you're still probably going to give him that pitch. But to some guy who's really struggling with his control, and one pitch is in and the other pitch is up and away and the other pitch is up and in, he's going to thread the needle maybe an inch or 2 off the outside corner. He's not going to get that one. So if you can keep the umpire looking in the same spot all the time, instead of a 17-inch plate, you're probably going to get a 21-inch plate. Mark Kotsay, who drew a walk in the second inning, swings and misses at a fastball. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. And this is an easy ground ball to second, and it's 3 up and 3 down. So we'll move to the 5th with the score tied at 1. and Granderson, if anybody gets on. Polanco. Laird lined into a double play. First time up, that back in the second inning. With everybody talking about the young left-hander out of Cuba that's going to set off a bidding war, like, what do you think about an international draft, or you think it should be signed as you can?
Well, fly ball, Gerald using the middle of the field. Scotty Pott a little bit easier on this catch versus the last one, where a great diving catch and doubled off Aubrey Huff to end the second inning. International draft, I would love to see something like that. I think it can be shorter. You can talk about maybe 5 rounds. But truly, I mean, we have scouts now all over the world looking at the best talent, and you know that best talent wants to come here and play in our major leagues.
Santiago, who had a base hit to lead off the third inning, looks at one down. I've talked with Bud Selig about this a number of times. And my feeling is you have the usual suspects: the Mets, the Yankees, Boston, the Dodgers to a certain extent. And those are the guys, maybe along with 1 or 2 others, that are going to get these high-priced international free agents. And in order to level the playing field, I would think that you'd want some of these guys to go to some teams that aren't always buying the best players around. And I know the argument on the other side, but I think eventually we're going to have to go to an international draft, especially if we get a real strong slotting system for the regular draft, which might be coming after the next collective bargaining agreement. Fly ball left field, and Carlos Quentin right in his tracks. So quickly, 2 up and 2 down. And after the back-to-back base hits in the third by Santiago and Granderson, Daniel Hudson has retired 8 straight.
We talked about Daniel's strength, that moving fastball, you want to see him getting ground balls. This hasn't been the ideal game, knowing that most of his outs have been up in the air, but at least he's playing to his strengths. He knows he's got 7 guys behind him. He's getting on the mound, moving quickly, and using his defenders.
Granderson 2 for 2. He homered in the first. Line drive base hit in the third. And in a 1-1 game, you'd like to keep him off base because of his base running abilities.
Well, and Daniel in this sequence so far is really keeping that ball in the middle of the zone and down. You wonder what AJ may have said to him in the dugout between innings, saying, look, get on the mound, let's work quick. You might not have all of your best stuff, but again, you've got 7 guys behind you. Just pick me up and just relax.
Well, there's no doubt that Hudson's not shaking off any pitches. So the count goes full. Again, with 20 stolen bases, this is most of the running game for this Tiger team that is not real fast. And that one chopped foul. You got a guy up there that swings and misses a lot.
135 strikeouts, and as you said, 20 stolen bases. Next on the team is 7 with Polanco, and something tells me that might have been a lot of back end of double steals.
Granderson continues to battle. That one in the LG Skyline Club seats.
And an awfully nice catch by a fan out there.
It's just a gorgeous day in this wonderful city. Now, we did miss summer this year. I think we had it 2 days on the final 2 days of a homestand where it was 92 and 94. Other than that, I can't remember a cooler or wetter summer in a long time. Line drive right field. Rios making a great play to his left, and that takes away at least 2, possibly 3. So 3 up and 3 down, 9 in a row retired by Daniel Hudson, and we're halfway through this one, tied at 1. Thank you, Chuck. So the bottom of the fifth inning, Alexei Ramirez leading it off, and he takes a fastball up high, grounded into a force out. But because he hustled down the line, he was able to score ahead of the Carlos Quentin double, and that's why we're tied at 1. And Jackson has fallen behind 2-0.
We've only had one inning so far this game where we had our leadoff man on, Scotty Pod. Now there's a solid shot, unfortunately to the wrong guy. One up and one down.
And an easy play for Polanco.
Alexei's done a much better job, again, as we talked about, getting comfortable on the plate, getting pitches to hit, and putting a good swing on them. This one, right on it, one hopper, did everything right. Unfortunately, just right at Polanco, and Polanco was positioned right where he hits those balls.
And he's been in on 6 plays today already. Carlos Quentin fouls it straight back, just to the right of us.
He tried to give us a souvenir.
Now that one came back a little bit firmer than I would have liked, so I'm glad that one missed high right. Carlos drove in his 50th run in the second inning. Outfield straight away, fairly deep all the way around. And little looper to center field. Granderson gets a late break, but he's got that makeup speed, and he was able to come on and put it away.
That ball seemed to hang just a little bit. Again, off the end of the bat. I think all of us were hoping that was going to fall in, but as you said, Granderson, even though he didn't get a good jump, being their fastest guy out there, was able to run it down.
Chris Getz, who popped up to end the second inning, looks out at Jackson, who's been sailing right along, and he fakes a bunt, takes a strike. Brandon Inge was charging at third base, and he's going to play him right at the cut of the grass, well off the line at third. Fouled off to the left, and we'll take a look at Chris Getz's rookie year, and it's been pretty impressive. Multi-hit games, first among all rookies. Stolen bases, second. Hits, third. Factor in that 36-game errorless streak, and you have a solid rookie season for Chris Getz.
Another one of those things you hate to say, let's look at for the future. You hate to say, let's look at what we're going to have next year, knowing that there was such high expectations for the club this year. But you can't get over the fact that we do have a good core nucleus. Unfortunately, Getz popping that one up. Guillen calling off and taking the play.
And we are through 5 with the score tied at 1. the U.S. Cellular box office, as well as merchandise and food during White Sox home games. White Sox gift cards are available at the box office, Dominick's, Jewel Osco, Kmart, and Kroger. For details, visit whitesox.com under ticket information. Placido Polanco leading it off. He's 0 for 2. Did the same thing last night and then got 3 hits in a row. And Daniel has fallen behind 2-0.
I'll tell you what, last night it seemed like there were a lot of Tigers that were 0 for 2 that ended up getting a couple hits.
It was like 2 different games last night. And that's essentially what this season has been like. Almost 2 different seasons. There was a time when we were looking eye to eye with Detroit, Minnesota, and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out. And the count moves to 3-1. Pretty good job by Hudson, who got off to a shaky start. Since then, throwing the ball pretty well. He misses that time, and as Hawk would say, the dreaded leadoff walk, and Hawk is away on a family matter. A very good chance he'll rejoin us tomorrow in Cleveland. And we certainly appreciate you, Mike, for the job you've done sitting in. It's been an interesting series, a series obviously that means a whole lot more to Detroit than to us. But playing the contenders this time of year is a pretty good thing to do.
Well, especially for the rookies. I mean, to give them a sense of feel. If you're not in a playoff hunt, what is the feeling around there?
There's a bunt going foul.
What is the feeling around a ballpark? What's the feeling around a stadium when somebody else is in the playoff hunt? So maybe you can learn from that. I think our guys will definitely get that feel when we go up there next week.
Well, there's also a different type of intensity from the team that's in the race as opposed to when we go to Cleveland. You're going to have some guys that are playing for some personal numbers. Guys are trying to hit 300, or guys trying to drive in 100 runs, or pitchers trying to win as many games as he can. But overall, the intensity level is much different for this Detroit team than it would be if you're playing a team that's going to finish up the track along with what we're going to do. The fastball misses, well, high and away. The ball was out of the zone, but Thomas swung through it. But Daniel Hudson trying to put an 0 for 3 collar on Thomas. Flied out twice, and Polanco leads away at first, and that ball misses up and away.
Cleat again, fly ball to center, fly ball to right. Let's see if they get Carlos in the game. A fly ball here. Better for us would be that ground ball. Let's see if we can get Chu and wipe out that walk.
Chases him back at first. Thomas has only grounded into 3 double plays this year, and he's going to bat 265 times, so he's got pretty good speed. Fastball for a strike on the outside corner. Thomas looking at it, and there's a big first out.
Now, this was a great location by Daniel. AJ setting up and not off the plate, straddling that outside corner, and when that came in right between his shin guards, Wally Bell had no chance but to call it strike 3.
A perfect pitch, and he froze Thomas. So Cabrera comes up 0 for 2.
Very impressive numbers there by Cabrera.
And he looks at a breaking ball up high. So Cabrera is the one guy you always worry about in this lineup. There's one guy usually in the middle of the lineup that's paid to beat you, and this is the guy in their lineup. Especially now that you've fallen behind 2-0. And the thing about Cabrera is you start thinking, well, maybe I'll keep the ball away from him. He's got tremendous power to right center field. That's one of the reasons why not only is he a slugger, but his average is up there every year. That one misses well wide of the plate. Kansas City still leading 3-0 behind Zach Greinke. Greinke knows if he's going to beat Sabathia, who's got the only chance, I believe, to win 20 games in the American League, he's going to have to not only win today, but probably the next time out against those same Twins. And the Tigers were well aware that the Twins were going to have to face Greinke twice. 3-0 pitch, and he's walked it. So 2 walks here in the 6th. In the same situation, but there were 2 leadoff walks in the 2nd. He was able to pitch his way around that. Now it brings up Aubrey Huff, and A.J. going to the mound to have a word with him.
Well, A.J. is almost another pitching coach the White Sox have, being around this team now for so many years and understanding Don Cooper and what he's brought to the organization and what Don is saying to our young pitchers. Again, A.J.'s not afraid to get out there and kind of rattle a pitcher or a youngster and just put him back and relax and hopefully finding that release point.
He's talking to him about thinking about throwing a ground ball because Huff doesn't run real well. So first and second, one out, and a good sinking fastball over the outside corner.
To your point, let's get a strike. Let's get ahead of this. Last time up, this guy hit a ground ball to second. We can get that again, but let's get ahead of him in the count.
Play Huff as a pull hitter in the infield and the outfield. And he looks at one low and in. One out here in the top of the sixth inning. This game tied at 1-3-0 for the Tigers, 1-2-0 for the Sox. Count goes to 2-1.
Looked like he tried to get a little bit too fine with that and slow the whole body down. Showed he was coming with something that was other than a fastball, and unfortunately dropped it off in front of the plate there. Good job by A.J.
Runners lead away, and that one misses up and in. So you'd have to think that if Hudson, for whatever reason, doesn't get Huff, we're going to see a trip from Don Cooper as the bullpen for the first time today starts to work. 3-1 pitch, and it's right down the middle.
I tell you what, if I'm Aubrey Huff, I'm shaking my head. I mean, you're paid to get a fastball. It's a 3-1 count. You can't be guessing slider with a youngster like this who's struggling. You got to say, what do I hit best, which is a fastball. Look for the fastball, and he lets one go that's right down the middle.
Runners going. And that ball misses inside, so Hudson has walked the bases loaded, and on cue, here comes Don Cooper.
Well, Daniel's had such a great college career, such a great stint through the minor leagues. As you see Tony Pena working in the bullpen now, I'm sure he can't remember the last time that he walked 5 guys or 3 in 1 inning. He's had such a great ascension through the minors for the White Sox, and again did well in his last outing against the Twins.
And one of the things he did going 14-5 this year is he made every stop all the way up from the low minor leagues all the way to the major leagues, and it's been a meteoric rise for Hudson, who's just 22 years old, was he got the ball consistently over the plate. But there's a big difference between the little stadiums and not so bright lights and the big stadiums. But Hudson looking good so far. Finds himself in trouble of his own making here in the top of the 6th inning. Bases loaded, only 1 out, and Carlos Guillen swings and misses at a good sinking fastball. So Guillen with a day of no contact. He drew a walk in the 2nd. He struck out swinging in the 4th. But most of those numbers you're looking at, 11 and 39, have been accumulated from the left side for this switch hitter. Fly ball center field. That's going to score a run. Sednick back. And so the leadoff walk in the form of Placido Polanco puts the Tigers ahead 2-1.
Carlos Guillen is a very solid ball player, very solid hitter. Unfortunately, injuries have sidelined him most of this year. Swung at that first pitch out of the zone a little bit. Again, like most good hitters, let me make an adjustment. I don't care what the pitch is. If it's up or in the zone, I want to put a good pass on it, get something I can drive. He was able to do that. And now we're losing 2-1.
And Brandon Inge comes up. So Guillen with his 3rd sacrifice fly of the year. Runners at the corners, 2 outs for Inge. He fouls that one off. Inge 0 for 2. He's hit a couple of fungos to Alex Rios in right field. Inge so far in the series held hitless. And he fouls that ball off to the right. So he's had tremendous knee problems. And it's difficult enough to hit in this league. It's a lot more difficult if you don't have a solid base. And if your knees are bothering you at all, and they are very much for Brandon Inge, who insists on playing every day, it's not easy. One misses up and in. The count goes to 1-2.
Well, to that point, you think about your extremities in baseball, your wrists, your shoulder, your knees. You've got to have those, or else you're not going to be able to perform at 100%. You can see Brandon's not afraid to get hit by a pitch, lean over the plate. But he is a gamer. He's the type of guy that, again, every manager loves to have. He's going to be out there. You've got to pull him out of the lineup. And even when he's struggling, he's going to try to do things defensively for you if he can't do it offensively.
And when you look at those numbers and hit by pitches, Carlos Quentin would have the lead easy had he been in all year long. The man was hit 43 times one minor league season. He gets him swinging on a slow curveball, and so we are on to the top of the sixth, but have surrendered the tie. It's 2-1 Tigers heading into the bottom of the sixth inning. Hawk Harrelson is away in a family matter, but he should be rejoining us tomorrow. And Mike, you've seen 3 games. This is a tough and tight one, like the beginning of the game last night. And in this game, these Tigers look like they're still just as hungry as they've been.
Oh, yes. I mean, unfortunately, we may have woken that Tiger proverbially about the 5th, 6th inning last night, having the first game. Peavy doing so well, Freddie looking great through 5. Unfortunately, we may have woken them up, and you can see the hunger in their eyes right now.
Alex Rios looking out at Edwin Jackson, who's given up just 2 hits. Sox trail 2-1. They've been out hit 3-2. And the count evens at 1. Jackson, a huge acquisition for this team, who's had all kinds of pitching problems, along with Rick Porcello, but their number 1, Justin Verlander. And those are the big 3. And in the probables against the Twins, it's Porcello, Verlander, Bonine, and Robertson who pitched the 4 games.
We talked about intensity. We talked about letting our young kids get to feel what the playoffs might be like, what it takes to succeed and win. You know, Detroit, Minnesota are going to be going head-to-head the next 4 games, and hopefully we'll be a spoiler up in Detroit regardless of who wins the majority of those games.
Well, it could very well be that if things hold up for both teams at this point, Detroit will have a 3-game lead, but a long way to go in this one, and certainly a long way to go in Kansas City. We've seen the Royals up 3-0 behind Zach Greinke. Right down the line, Brandon Inge can't get down low enough. And Rios into second base. There's the tag, and he's safe. And Polanco doesn't like to call him Mark Carlson. It appeared that the throw was there ahead of time, but Carlson said the foot was in before the tag.
Well, here comes Jimmy Leland as well. Alex does a great job getting out of the box on this one. Again, we're starting to see why Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn went out to trade for this individual, pick him up. But good ball down the line. Again, Brandon just missing it. Good hard turn at second. Ball in front of him. Slides in hard. And again, Polanco gets him around the calf. It's a bang-bang play, but you know what? I think it was the right call.
Well, it appeared that he was safe at second base. So Mark Carlson with a good call. And that's a tying run at second with nobody out here in the sixth inning. And up to Scott Posednik to move him along at the very least to third. He looked at a fastball low and away. So Inge was there to make that play. He just didn't get the glove down low enough, and it turned into a two-base hit.
Well, I tell you what, as a positional player, you never want to take an at-bat out into the field, but that sure looked like Brendan was thinking about what happened his last at-bat versus what he can do defensively.
And it's a 2-0 count to Scotty Pods. $33,685 paid today, and for the year, $2,284,163. So we certainly thank all of you for coming out.
All of you for watching us on TV. And this today is a beautiful day. I mean, I can't see any fans.
Base hit, it's going to score a run. That ball in the gap, and it's going to go to the wall.
And watch Scotty Pod run. Let's go.
Posednik in at third base. The game is tied at 2. And Scott hit that ball right on the button. Anytime that ball can land as shallow as that ball did and split the outfielders and go to the wall, you know it's hit like a bullet.
Well, Scotty got himself into a good hitter's count, and even though this ball is down, he was trying to go up the middle and pull it. Did a good job of not trying to pull it too much. Ball rolling all the way to the fence, head right down, and look at this. He's going hard. Second step out of the box. What's nice is the ball's in front of him. Cox over third, doesn't have to worry about anything. Now all Scotty has to do is pick him up, and it's a stand-up triple with no outs.
That's the 6th triple of the year for Posednik. He drives in run number 46, and now Laird out to talk with Jackson, who just as soon as he got the lead, he surrendered it.
Well, and just as we talked about Daniel, looking like he had settled into a nice groove in the last inning, strikeout, walk, strikeout. Same thing with Jackson. I mean, he had a couple great innings, ground balls, fly balls, mixing up about 9 or 10 in a row. And next thing you know, Brandon doesn't come up with a play, and Scotty Pod with a good swing, and it's a tie ball game.
Infield back. Cabrera is in on the grass at first, but the rest of the infield is going to concede the run to stay out of the big inning. So Jim Leyland has seen the Sox bullpen, and he realizes that his team is capable of scoring more than one run. Line drive, fair ball. Sox take the lead, and Beckham on his way to second base. So he drives in his 60th run of the year.
26th double. Gordon Beckham again showing everybody why he has got to be considered, if not the candidate, one of the top 2 or 3 for Rookie of the Years.
Well, he's certainly making his case for Rookie of the Year. 14 and 60 on the power numbers, and here comes Rick Knapp.
I'll tell you what, this is tough to do. Ball inside off the plate. Gordon got his hands inside his body so much he was able to keep it fair as it went around third. Again, doing a smart thing, making sure he holds him just to a double, doesn't try to get too close to the wall. Realized he had no throw into second, so lobbed it back into short.
So Knapp has had a quick say. And A.J. Pierzynski. He's 0 for 2, a couple of groundouts. The second of which went to in. But A.J. realizing that at the very least he's got to pull this ball to the right side to move along Beckham. Gordon with a good lead out at second, and a line drive foul.
Well, we saw one of our veterans in Scotty Pod saying, I'm going to get our guy to third. Came up with a triple. Gordon seeing the infield playing back, knowing he could hit it anywhere. There was no necessarily situational hitting here. AJ on that first one, a great approach, but pulled it just a little foul.
Kansas City has now taken a 4-0 lead behind Zach Greinke. And the 0-1 pitch. And it's 0-2.
We talked about this on Friday. There's probably a lot of people in Minnesota, especially right now, looking at that score with Greinke on the mound, really pulling for our Sox today.
The outfield is fairly deep all the way around, and the arms aren't overwhelming in the outfield. So I would think even with nobody out, Jeff Cox is going to wave around Beckham on any type of base hit. That was the emergency hat. That was it's too close to take. Let me take it out of Laird's glove hat.
That's also a veteran player saying, look, this might be one where I was looking for the right pitch. It may be too close, knowing what Wally Bell's been calling for strikes. AJ being a catcher, getting some of those calls for Daniel as well, saying, let me just foul this one off. Hopefully get one a little bit closer to the strike zone, something I can handle.
0-2 pitch. And he swings and he misses at a pitch out of the zone. So AJ fails to move along Beckham. And he realizes that that was not a particularly good at bat. That'll bring up Jermaine Dye, who's 0 for 2. Outfield straight away, fairly deep. And looking at the flags now, that wind has really picked up and it's blowing toward left center field. The breaking ball misses up and in. This is a huge run out at second base.
Gordon also looking around to seeing where they're playing. There's your flags now picking up, and as Steve said, starting to really blow.
And misses up and in with a breaking ball. So that's a terrific lesson to all you young players out there. Gordon Beckham, despite the fact that he came up on the 4th of June, very much aware that on each and every play, don't take for granted you know where the outfielders are because they might shift. And he turns around and takes a look at where the outfielders are because he knows that on a base hit, he doesn't want to have to guess if they've shifted into that position. 2-0 pitch. And a breaking ball for a strike.
Jermaine looking for a fastball in that situation, doing a good job of laying off it. To your point, Steve, I think Gordon also has been in enough meetings now that he realizes these advanced scouts really put you in a position where hitters have a tendency to hit ground balls or fly balls.
Swung at a high fastball up and out of the zone and fouls it straight back. Well, you do have control of a lot of things, but the little things in baseball are the things that eventually really tell the tale in one-run games. And most of the good teams, most of the teams that go on to the playoffs in 1- and 2-run games, they're going to be pretty good in those. And the teams that finish up the track, they're going to struggle in those same games. 2-2 pitch, right back up the middle, base hit. Granderson comes on, but the throw is going to go through, no chance to get Beckham. Jermaine drives in run number 79. And Jeff Cox, realizing that Granderson has a good but far from a great arm, sends him, and he scores easily. So a big at bat for Jermaine Dye.
Great job here, taking a pitch up in the zone, staying on top of it, something that we haven't seen Jermaine do a lot lately. Happy to get the signal. Gordon's head was down right off the bat, as you talked about, knowing where Granderson was playing, hustling right off the bat and letting Jeff Cox say either stop or go. Cox waving him in, made it pretty easily.
And a 2-run lead for the Sox, as Detroit scored 1 here in the 6th, and the Sox have come roaring back with 3. So it's 4-2. And Mark Kotze has one go to the screen. Jermaine Dye will head into second base, and that's going to be a wild pitch. So Edwin Jackson, who was sailing right along with his 6th wild pitch of the year, and he's run into a bit of a buzzsaw here in the 6th.
Well, you can see Gerald setting up outside and just got crossed up by Edwin. Doing all he could to get out there and reach for that, still just tipped the glove and went to the backstop.
Outfield straight away, and that ball chopped to the right side. Cabrera says I'll take it himself, and he does. Mark your calendars. Sox Fest 2010 will take place at the Palmer House Hilton January 22nd through the 24th, presented by Miller Lite Pepsi and the Palmer House Hilton. For more information, visit www.whitesox.com/community. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning, and Alexei Ramirez grounded into a force play in the 2nd, grounded out to 2nd in the 5th. Up for the 3rd time with Jermaine Dye at 3rd base. Good stop by Laird, as that slider was a 56-footer, and that's a tough play.
That's a really tough play. When you, especially, it's not a fastball, it's a slider, so this ball, depending on what it hits in front of the plate, can bounce left, can bounce right, can bounce straight. Laird doing a great job of just smothering it, not trying to catch it, just using his body just to keep it in front of him.
That breaking ball in for a strike, evens the count at 1-1. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th inning. But a Rios double, Posednik triple, a Beckham double, and a base hit by Dye, and 3 runs are home. A chopper to the right side, Polanco there to make the play, but not before the Sox get 3. And so we'll head into the top of the 7th inning, and the Sox lead 4-2. Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. If you haven't been there, it's gorgeous. For an enrollment form or additional information, call 312-674-5444. And Tony Pena comes on in relief of Daniel Hudson, who's a pitcher of record. Pena comes into this one 1-2, ERA 4.31, on for the 32nd time. There you look at the numbers. And he'll look in at Gerald Laird leading it off. He's 0 for 2. Fastball misses inside.
Steve, you probably participate in a couple of those fantasy camps. I've heard those are just an incredible week for people that go out there.
Well, I think they're going to have a beautiful time because of the facility and the fact that they get to intermingle with a lot of real interesting characters, former Sox greats. I was actually the manager for the first fantasy camp ever, the invention of the fantasy camp, 1983. That ball lined off to the right. In fact, it was Randy Hundley in charge of the old Chicago Cub players, and Charlie Grimm and I managed the campers. And it was a lot of fun. We had one guy lasted, I believe, 3 minutes before he tore a hamstring.
And I'm sure he told everybody, and he's still telling people to this day about that experience.
How good those 3 minutes were. Yes. But now, of course, a lot of teams have those fantasy camps, and they're a lot of fun because you get, just for a short time, for a week, get a feeling of what the major league players go through, and you get to interact, and you get to have dinner and hear stories, and it's a lot of fun. That ball looped to the right side and going foul. So the count evens at 2-2. Spanian, who came over from the Arizona Diamondbacks in exchange for Brandon Allen.
Well, I didn't realize that Tony, with 63 holds since 2007, is 5th on that list. That is pretty impressive.
2-2 pitch. And that ball misses up high. Run the count full. Pena's had some problems here in that he throws a couple of really good sliders and then the ball seems to flatten out on him. He's got good enough stuff to be successful. That fastball is at 95 miles an hour. Little chopper hit right at Gordon Beckham. He's got plenty of time and he gets it across. So always a big first out.
Well, and just as you're talking about 94, 95 mile an hour, he had thrown a couple sliders and that slow curveball to Gerald. This fastball, inner half, was able to eat him up for a slow grounder to third.
Brings up Santiago, who's 1 for 2. Base hit in the third, lined out in the fifth. And the outfield straight away, not overly deep. He had a good slider for a strike. Sox are hoping that Tony Pena can regain some of that magic he had with the Diamondbacks, because you look at this stuff and you say, this guy's got to be successful. Little chopper up the middle, but Alexi playing him right there, guns him out at first base. So quickly 2 up and 2 down.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, this is the type of guy that if he gets it and he finds it again, now all of a sudden with Thornton, hopefully Jenks coming back next year nice and healthy, you really have to worry about only 6 innings to manage, because you're going to have your 7th, 8th, and 9th innings covered up.
Tigers scored 1 in the first, a leadoff home run by the man you're looking at, Curtis Granderson. Sox answered with 1 in the second. Tigers 1 in the 6th. Sox came back with 3 in the 6th, and that's where we stand at 4-2. Daniel Hudson went 6 pretty good innings. Control a bit of an issue with 5 walks. But he only gave up 3 Tiger hits. And this is a team grinding because they've got a 2-game lead for the division title. So another pretty impressive outing for the youngster on the heels of a good start against Minnesota. And a 3-0 count to Granderson.
Well, this pitch we've talked about, it's not where he catches it, it's where it crosses the plate. I guarantee that one was knee highs across the plate.
Fastball for a strike. Pena wasn't particularly happy with that call that preceded that fastball for a strike. Right down the line, fair ball. That one rattling in the corner. Rios gets to it, but can't get it back in time as Granderson with his 3rd hit of the day.
This one being a double. Curtis Granderson is the only player that's given us any trouble today. Leadoff home run, single in the 3rd, a line drive that Alex made a great play, and this one just over the base. Just somehow kept that one fair for a double. Alex doing a good job getting it over there and actually making it a lot closer than it probably would have been.
It was Ron Culp on the call. You don't see that very often, the ball going over the inside part of the bag and get the fair call. But he's a triple away from the cycle as he leads away at second base. Alcido Polanco looks at a fastball for a strike. Polanco with the leadoff walk last inning came home to score as Daniel Hudson walked 3, gave up a sacrifice fly. The young man was pretty impressive. Fastball up high, and the count evens at 1.
Well, Daniel was able to minimize the damage in that last inning. Again, that 6th inning, last inning. 3 walks, sac fly, but he had 2 strikeouts as well. So it just goes to show he wasn't consistent, but still had some good stuff.
And didn't panic when he got the bases loaded.
Exactly.
that ball up and in. And there's no doubt that Daniel Hudson, although ideally you'd like to see him with a little more seasoning, but it could very well be that his stuff is good enough at his age. But he's going to make a run at either the rotation or the bullpen, but certainly a spot next year on their 25-man roster. And that slider shaves off the outside corner. So 2-2 with 2 outs here to one of the most difficult men to strike out in the major leagues, Placido Polanco. Little chopper. Beckham taking a look at it. He's going to let it roll. And as soon as it goes foul, he grabs it.
And that, again, is what you've got to do on a play like that. When you know you got no chance at him, you've got to follow that ball all the way through. And literally, the minute it goes foul, you step on it, you pick it up, you kick it, you do whatever it is. But the minute it goes, you don't give it a chance to come back into fair territory.
You never know if it hits a rock, hits a spike mark, hits anything, but you do know that it is foul at that particular time. So count holds at 2-2. Infield back. And Granderson with a huge lead at second base. We head into the bottom of the 7th inning. The Sox leading 4-2.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
It's 4-2 as we head into the bottom of the 7th inning, and it's Carlos Quinton who swings at a first pitch slider, and you can tell he was looking for a fastball.
We're into the 7th inning now, so you got to think Carlos is thinking the pitch count's got to be going up. Edwin wants to get ahead, looking for that fastball. Unfortunately, a second good hard slider.
It's 95 pitches from Jackson, who gave up 3 in the 6th. He's in search of his 14th win, and the Sox are in search of giving him his 8th loss. Slider misses outside.
Well, you talked about the value of a pitcher that can gobble up some innings. Besides Justin Verlander, who's got 224 innings this year, Edwin's second on the team.
The guy who is one of their mainstays, the third on the team, Rick Porcello, is one of the guys that's going to give Gordon Beckham a run for his money in Rookie for the Year, along with Andrew Bailey, who's the closer for the Oakland club, and very well be Neiman from Tampa Bay. Carlos pops that ball straight up. Brandon Inge calling for it, and he puts it away. To thank Bobby Bertucci for bringing up a couple of burgers. They're just outstanding in the Miller Lite Bullpen Sports Bar area. The Bertucci's mainstays at this ballpark, the old ballpark. And they're just part of a cast of characters that has made our life a whole lot easier here at the ballpark throughout this 09 season. And we would be remiss if we didn't thank everybody associated with the White Sox. Because whether they do win or lose, the folks that come out here every day do a terrific job of making our lives much easier. And without them, it would be a much longer year than this year has been, especially for the last 6 weeks. Chris Getz is 0 for 2.
Well, you talk about the fact that you and I have both had a chance to see and be a part of a lot of different major league ballparks over the years, the newer ones as well as the older ones. But to your point, this ballpark, with all the renovations they've done, with the amenities that they have for the kids, the fundamentals down the left field line, the bullpen sports bar, I mean, there are so many wonderful things about this that I think puts it at the top of the list.
Well, it's a comfortable park, and the thing that I'm very happy with, it has terrific food. And Roy Rivas has done just a great job of feeding us this year. So we thank Roy and his crew. This being the last home game, it's on the road, 3 at Cleveland, then the off day, and then finish it up with 3 against these same Tigers. Did he check his swing? He did not. So the call by Kerwin Danley, I think it was a correct call. We'll look at it from the side. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Chris knew he went right there waiting to be called out. Oh, you're not going to call me? Please don't. Oh, okay. There's that third base umpire. Yeah.
Really, officer, I wasn't speeding. That wasn't me in that car.
Promise. It had a white trim on that stop sign. I thought that meant it was optional.
2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and it's Alex Rios. And he looks at one low and away. It was his double that started things rolling in the 6th. He doubled. Scott Posednik then tripled to the alley in right center. Gordon Beckham rifled a double down the line. And after a strikeout by A.J., Jermaine Dye with a base hit. And before you know it, Jackson, who had taken a 2-1 lead with his Tigers, now was trailing, as they are now 4-2.
Well, and Edwin really was sailing to that point too. He had 3 innings in a row, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, where it was 3 up, 3 down. He was mixing all of his pitches for strikes. And Alex with the ground ball that, again, Brandon Inge may have been able to get a glove on, opened up the floodgates.
Chopper to Inge, who drops it. That could have been the 3rd out, but wasn't. And I'm sure that Inge is going to be charged with an error, and that's his 2nd of the series. That's his 19th of the year. And the first error of the series was very costly, because right after that, Gordon Beckham hit a 2-run homer that did end the Tigers 2-0 in that opening game.
Yeah, those types of games where your opponent's pitcher is just pitching lights out, you know you can't afford any mistakes defensively. He opened the door just a smidge, and Gordon Beckham pushed his way through that with that 2-run homer.
That's just the 4th error in the last 24 Tiger games, but the 3rd error in 3 games in this series. So this is normally a very sure-handed team that has not been sure-handed in this series. Sednick 2 for 3. And Edwin Jackson thinking that Alex Rios, who is one of the better base stealers in the American League, is going to be going. Not on this pitch.
Well, and again, this now falls back on the pitcher's shoulder. You can't take a big kick. You can't take a big slide. We talked about the fact that Ozzy's bunched his speed guys. Getz, Rios, and Posednik all together, 8-9-1. You've got to give your catcher a chance. As good as Gerald's doing, if Edwin just has a high leg kick and takes 2 seconds to home, anyone's going to steal.
Fly ball center field, and Curtis Granderson's going to make this play, and he does. So we'll head into the 8th inning with the Sox leading 4-2. Cleek Thomas to lead off the 8th inning. It'll be Thomas, Cabrera, and Huff scheduled. But it's Matt Thornton throwing in the bullpen, so we'll see how Pena wends his way through the top of this inning. Fouled that ball off, and the count evens at 1-1. Thomas 0 for 3, a couple of flyouts and a strikeout. Outfield straightaway, not overly deep. That ball floats outside. So we're getting to the point now, Mike, where the shadows are starting to creep closer to home plate. How tough is it visibility-wise for the hitters when that happens?
Oh, in a day like today, when that sun is bright, it is a big factor. Everyone may say it's not that much of a deal, and you still have to focus on the release point. But again, not yet, but probably next inning when that shadow line is right between home and the mound, it's not easy.
3-1 count. The last thing you want to do is walk Thomas ahead of Cabrera with a 2-1 lead. Right at Alexei, who's positioning perfectly, and he throws him out. That was a tough hop.
Very tough hop, but again, a little assist to our advanced scouts, which we have some great ones within the White Sox organization, positioning Alexei, saying here's where he's going to hit ground balls. This was a rocket off the side of the mound and took a little bounce. As they hit the infield, Alexei staying with it, and a good hard strike over to Mark Kotsay at first.
Brings Cabrera up with nobody on. He's 0 for 2. Drew a base on balls in the 6th inning. and a good moving fastball inside. So Daniel Hudson went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, walked 5, fanned 3. He's the pitcher of record. Now it's up to the bullpen to see if they can make this hold up. And Wally Bell doesn't even have to look at Ron Culp at first base. He said, yes, indeed, you did swing. So I know that Daniel Hudson bidding for his first major league win.
I'm not sure if there's anybody around here that's pulling harder for Tony right now than Daniel.
I'll say that he's a very interested spectator.
Do you have your baseball from your first win still?
I do, only I don't know where it is, but I know I do have it. It was in my 4th start. And I got 3 no decisions and then went to Pittsburgh against a very strong Pittsburgh team with Willie Stargell and Roberto Clemente and a host of characters. In fact, they wound up in 1971 winning it all. And I had my parents from Cleveland, wound up shutting them out 2-0 for my first major league win. Good slider for strike 3. Cabrera can't believe it. He didn't like the called strike in the first inning. He likes this one a whole lot less. But here comes Ozzie. And he's going to go to Matt Thornton. That's going to put the ball squarely in the hands of Jim Leland to take down Aubrey Huff. A good solid inning in 2/3 of the backup slider. And you can tell where Cabrera might be a little unhappy. So we'll step out and be back after these messages that Matt Thornton comes in the game. Follow your favorite Chicago baseball team on Twitter, Facebook, blogs, and message boards. Connect with the White Sox. Visit www.whitesox.com/connect. And our Lexus call to the pen is Matt Thornton. This is his 2nd opportunity to save in this series. And he saved Friday night's game. So he looks at Marcus Timms, who's on pinch hitting for Aubrey Huff. And he looks at one low and in.
Well, let's hope he had the same type of stuff he had Friday night, because he was smooth and throwing in the upper 90s. Very impressive.
Misses with that fastball low and in. So Timms 6 for 12 with a home run and 3 driven in as a pinch hitter this year, hitting .251 overall. Throw the fastball right by him. This same matchup yielded a strikeout as the 2nd hitter in the 9th inning Friday night. And now Matt falls behind 3-1. Carlos Guillen in the on-deck circle. If it stays alive, he'll turn around and hit from the right side. And there's a high fastball for a strike. And the count goes full. The Shadows just now starting to get to home plate, and I would think that visibility isn't great. That one fouled straight back.
I think another thing people forget is it's tough for the hitter once that shadow. It's also tough for an umpire once that shadow crosses it. He's really got to focus and bear down as well.
A lot easier when he swings and misses. But that one popped up. It's going to stay in play, and Mark Kotze is going to put it away. So we're through the 8th inning, heading to the bottom of the 8th, and it's 4-2 Sox. Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered, and delivering a base hit, Gordon Beckham, his second of the day. So a promising way to start out, look for some insurance here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Exactly right. Gordon, again, another great at-bat. Looking fastball, got one, took it right up the middle, solid base hit. I'm sure Matt Thornton's not going to argue if we get 2 or 3 more here.
Kansas City leading 4-1 that game in the top of the 7th inning. But Minnesota has runners at first and second and nobody out. And Jim Leyland comes out. And that's going to be it for Edwin Jackson. He'll depart. And Nee comes into the game. games ready to watch on your schedule. To find out more, call 1-888-4BEST-TV. And the Lexus call to the pen is Futain Ni. We saw him Friday night. Doesn't have a record, does have a fine 2.73 ERA, and for the 33rd time, he's not overpowering, but he's got a good slider. Picks at the corners, and he's going to face A.J. Pierzynski, who's 0 for 3 and is yet to have the ball out of the infield. Soft throw to first to keep Beckham right there.
Well, to your point, Steve, this is the type of guy that is a situational pitcher. Last 5 outings, over 4 innings, has not given up an earned run and only 2 hits.
Another soft toss to first. So now the pitcher in the bright sunshine and the hitter obscured in the shadows. As we show you the visibility, it's not particularly good.
This is actually one of those innings that if I knew we weren't going to score 3 or 4, I said, let's make some quick outs. Oh, my gosh.
Well, that breaking ball went right over A.J.'s head as he squared to bunt. And having had that happen, squaring to bunt and see the ball right between your eyes, that's not a particularly good thing. But fortunately, it wasn't a fastball, and he had some time to get out of the way of it.
We talk about the sun and the shadow. A.J. Pierzynski, not typically someone you'd think about bunting, so you know he was in an awkward position there, but luckily he was able to get out of the way.
He pops it straight up. That ball drifting into foul territory, and Brandon Inge making the play. So A.J. a little frustrated with himself today. And as Jermaine Dye steps in, Jim Leland will once again go to the mound, and that will mean that we're going to go to the bullpen again, as Nee did his job, and now his job is over. He gets the baseball, and it's Fernando Rodney. So we'll be back after these messages.
White Sox Training Academy in Lyle, LaGrange, Tinley Park in Northwest Indiana is now registering for fall training programs. Register at bullsoxacademy.com or call 630-PLAY-BALL.
I know you're a part of that now, and you're doing a great job, and that's a wonderful program. So the Lexus call to the pen is Fernando Rodney. 2-4, ERA a tick under 4, on for the 68th time. He's 35 of 36 in save situations. This is not one of those. And many times when a closer comes in without that adrenaline of looking for that save, he'll get hurt. So he's got a great straight change and a fastball that's in the high 90s. And that one misses low and away to Jermaine Dye, who's 1 for 3. Drove in a run with a base hit in the 6th inning.
Steve, when you think about a closer, knowing that he hasn't pitched in the last 3 days, do you think this is where Leland is saying, I don't want you to sit too many days in a row, especially knowing the series he has coming up after us?
I think that's part of it. And I think the other part is he realizes now is the time to try to close the door and make sure it's only a 2-run deficit heading into the 9th inning, because he knows how tough Matt Thornton is. I talked with him about it, and he knows he can't afford to give up another one. That one over the outside corner at 92, so he took a little something off because his fastball's been timed this year at 99 miles an hour. And he's got a great straight change.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that to me was always the most toughest pitch to hit. And it looked like Jermaine there, 2-0, was just saying, look, he's just come in. He hasn't thrown a strike yet. I'm taking it regardless of what it is.
And that one missed well wide of the plate, so it's 3-1. 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Sox lead by 2. 2-4-1 for the Tigers. 4-7-0 for the Sox. That fastball right down the middle. So the count goes full. Jermaine might have thought that ball was a little high.
Well, it looked like Gerald was setting up inside, and yeah, caught it below the face mask, clearly right around the belt. That looked like a pretty good pitch to me.
And I concur with that. So a full count with 1 out. Beckham goes, ground ball up the middle. They're not going to get the force out at second, so sending Gordon Beckham keeps the Sox out of the double play as Jermaine grounds to Santiago.
Good job by Gordon here. In this type of situation, you're not really stealing. You've got to make sure he's going and then glancing in like a good base runner should with the full count, getting to the bag and just watching the play from there.
Mark Kotsay comes up. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. But he's the perfect guy in this situation because he's not going to overswing. As he takes one under the hands for ball 1.
I thought you were being nice. He's the perfect guy in the situation because he's my click to pick. And a nice 2-run home run here would look awfully good for me.
Well, I think he's probably done a bit better than AJ for me today. That fastball misses up and in. So it's 2-0. Change up high and away.
Good job by Mark there, not swinging at that. 2-0, you're looking dead red. You're looking for something to drive, and good job by Rodney switching it up on him and throwing a changeup.
Line drive left field. It'll fall. And a big run as Mark Kotsay, who didn't overswing, able to drop that ball in front of Guillen. And Mark Kotsay, who's going to be a free agent. We can only hope that his stint here in Chicago has been pleasurable enough, because this guy can flat out hit. And that fastball is up. And that's a huge run, and it's 5-2.
You talk about a professional here. You talk about a veteran. You talk about all those things that you want in someone coming off the bench or as a part-time player. Mark Kotsay just epitomizes that. Fastball up and away. He didn't drive too much with it. Base hit to left, and we got the RBI.
Alexei fouls that one off. He's 0 for 3 today with a run scored.
Alexei's hit the ball hard a couple times. Unfortunately, doesn't have anything to show for it. But his hustle on that first at-bat, beating out a double play, got us on the board early.
This is going to be a tough play for Santiago. Bare hand pickup and throw, and he's safe. As Cabrera came off the bag. So that undoubtedly will go as a base hit. At least you would think so. And Ramirez, who hustled down the line in the second inning, kept that inning alive for Quentin to double and drive home a run. And here he hustles.
Making a great effort there, but again, the hustle putting pressure on him. And this is a great lesson for everyone watching this game. Never take anything for... Never not run hard. Push yourself all the way through, because you never know what can happen. You put some pressure on the defense, You force them to making a bad play, and again, that hustle by Alexi, rush throw by Santiago, just pulled off first base, Miguel Cabrera.
And it's Carlos Quinton, whose double drove home at the time the tying run in the second inning. The ball almost got away. Laird made a pretty good play. And we talked about closers in non-save situations. And without that adrenaline, and I don't know why that is, I just know that it definitely is. And Rodney has given up a couple of hits, but the big one to Katse, who was your pick to click, but unfortunately the Crew beat you today. They picked Gordon Beckham.
Well, you'll have no arguments from me with Gordon Beckham. You just had a solid game today with the RBI, the double, the single, playing another great day at third base. The thing I like most about our scorecard right now, 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors.
And Gordon has scored a couple of runs. Borden is 6th with a double that drove in a run. And here with leadoff single in the 8th. So 2-1 pitch. Fly ball in the gap and well hit to right center field, and nobody's going to get this one. It's gone. Carlos Quinn with a 3-run homer. That's his 19th. He's driven in 53 for today. And the Sox have thwarted on Fernando Rodney. Shadows around home plate or no shadows. They wound up with 3 straight hits against Rodney, including the Ford home run replay.
Well, Carlos has had 2 great at-bats, low strikes going the other way. As soon as this was hit, I'm yelling, get up, get up, get out. We had the wind blowing in from right field, but when it hits this stadium, it swirls and actually the ball carries to right. Carlos with a great swing, letting Rodney provide the power. Barrel of the bat, it's a 3-run homer, and now all of a sudden, 8-4.
His 0-1 ERA, a touch over 4 on for the 51st time, as the Sox put a 4 spot on the board here in the 8th inning. So you can close the book on Rodney, a third of an inning, 3 runs on 3 hits. Edwin Jackson, 7+ innings, 5 runs on 7 hits. As Perry comes in to try to get the final out in what for the Tigers has been a nightmarish 8th.
Well, we saw that 4 spot up last night. Unfortunately, it was on their side of the ledger. It's a lot more fun when we get to put one up on our side.
Chris gets 0 for 3. And that ball misses up and away.
Steve, you talked about bringing a closer in, not in a closed situation. I've always been a proponent that sometimes the most critical part of a game is a 5th inning, is a 7th inning, bases loaded. Why would you bring a closer in there? But in this situation, clearly not a whole lot on the line. We're up by 2, 1 guy on. But as you said,
No adrenaline, usually some runs.
Exactly.
That held true here today. That one misses low and in. Count goes to 3-2. Well, the middle game, which was last night's game, the biggest man in that game out of the bullpen was Figueroa, who came in already down 5 runs. And he held the Sox right there. And the Tigers came back and just roared by him and won 12-5. So the importance of that first man out of the bullpen has been accentuated more now than ever before, because he's going to come into the game. He's going to most likely get a no decision. But his job in a game that seemingly looks like a blowout is to hold that team where he finds it. And last night for Figueroa, he was the man that relieved Robertson. Right back at Perry, but Santiago will make the play, and he gets him at first. But not before the Sox put up 4. And we head to the top of the 9th inning with the Sox leading 8-2. Post-game live, you'll see all the highlights, get Bill Melton's analysis, plus listen in on Ozzie Guillen's post-game remarks. Don't miss U.S. Cellular White Sox post-game live immediately following the game right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Fans' best friend. So Matt Thornton, who is going after his second save of the series, delivers one off the plate to Carlos Guillen, and now the count evens at 1-1.
We've talked about, with not having Bobby Jenks here, Matt Thornton having an opportunity now to step up and prove that he can take over that closer role. We've had him once so far this series. Hopefully this will be number 2. He's only got 2 on the year. This would make it 3. But again, if he can come through in this last week, show he's got that type of ability to do it, I'm sure it's going to be a great relief for Ozzie going into next year.
Well, that's what you were hoping for, was that Matt Thornton, anointed as the closer with Bobby down with that leg problem, would have an opportunity to be able to nail down some games. So he came on last inning, threw the ball real well, retiring Timms, who's a pretty tough hitter. It helps when your team puts 4 up and gives you a 6-run lead as you head into the 9th inning.
We talked about Daniel Hudson probably a little bit excited about getting his first major league win, but again, for Matt Thornton, I'm sure there's not that many saves that you can have 6-run leads and still be eligible for a save.
Well, that one is going to go to the wall, and Guillen has his first hit of the game. 2-base hit in the left field.
Well, and that's only the 5th hit of the game for the Tigers, 3 of them coming from Curtis Granderson. So our pitchers really, even though they may not have been, and again, Daniel was a little bit inconsistent, we've kept, for the most part, everyone in that middle of the order totally off balance and without a hit.
Well, Daniel Hudson started this one, went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs on 3 hits, walked 5, fanned 3. And he's in line for his first major league win. Brandon Inge, who's had just a terrible series, both with the glove and with the bat, stands in at 0 for 3. Takes one down, and the count evens at 1-1. Kansas City leading in the top of the 8th inning, 4-1 over Minnesota. These two teams will hook up for a 4-game series starting tomorrow. It'll be Rick Porcello against Nick Blackburn on Tuesday, Justin Verlander against Brian Dunsing. Then it's Eddie Bonine against Carl Pavano. Then Nate Robertson against Scott Baker. And if the scores hold, Minnesota will go in trailing by 2 games into that 4-game series, knowing they can't afford to split. They've got to take 3 of 4, and they're going to face 2 of their best, Porcello at 14-9 and Justin Verlander, the ace of the staff, at 17-9. Strike 3 called on the outside corner. And so what has been a very bad series continues for Brandon Inge as he strikes out for the second time.
I tell you what, AJ, again, doing a great job setting up, not setting up off the plate, still setting up over right that outside corner, right on the corner. And so when that ball pops right between those shin guards, it's very easy for Wally Bell behind the plate to call it a strike.
That one fouled straight back as Gerald Laird is 0 for 3. And I know I speak for all of us, Mike, thanking you for sitting in. Hawk was away on some family business. We understand that he'll be rejoining us tomorrow, but you did a great job, and I know you've pinch hit for me in the past, and we certainly appreciate it. And working with you these 3 has been fun.
Well, it's always a pleasure coming out here. I mean, I come to try to get to as many games as I can now that we're back in Chicago, like you said, working at the Bull Sox Academies and being a part of the family and the organization again. It has been a pleasure working with you these 3 games. Like you said, having the opportunity to work with Hawk previously, a lot of fun on some of those, and with you even better.
2 outs as Mark Kotsay puts that soft little looper away. So the Sox 1 out away from taking 2 of 3 from the first place team in the Central. Mon Santiago will turn around and hit from the right side, and the fans on their feet. 33,685 on Fan Appreciation Day. Base hit to center field, and the run's going to score. But that 4-run 8th makes it a whole lot more comfortable as Santiago gets his second hit, drives in his 32nd run. And it's an 8-3 game.
I'm sure Matt didn't want that to happen. That ball softly hit in the center field. But you know what? Bottom line here, we still have a 5-run lead. Let's just throw strikes. Let my fielders behind me do their job.
And they're still 1 out away from perhaps one of those shaving cream pies for Daniel Hudson. Ryan Rayburn pinch hitting for Curtis Granderson, who was 3 for 4. Defensive indifference as Santiago coasts into second base. And it's nice to know that Bob Rosenberg will go out with a correct call.
Have to agree on that one.
Good fastball, throws it right by Rayburn. Rayburn at 283. It's been a good year for him as a pinch hitter, just 2 for 15 with a homer.
You talk about the difficulty in pinch hitting. Like you said, a 283 overall average, only 2 for 15 as a pinch hitter. He's got to come in with a guy throwing upper 90s with the sunshade to battle with as well.
That one goes into left field. That'll be a base hit. So Rayburn with his 3rd pinch hit, and it's an 8-4 game. That ball off Ramirez's glove, skipped into left field. So this one not quite over yet.
That ball getting just a little bit too much of the plate. No doubts, again, Alexi doing a good job getting over there. If this was truly a one-run game, something tells me he would have been laid out for that, keeping that one on the infield. But you know what, at this point, you got a good guy on the mound, throwing hard. We'll get it out.
Polanco 0 for 3 with a walk. Again, defensive indifference. And the first ball fastball for a strike. Outfield shaded toward right. And Thornton misses with that. So despite the fact that there have been shadows across the home plate area for the better part of an inning, there's been 6 runs scored in the last inning combined. Chopper, that's at Beckham, and this will end it. Throw to first.
Yes.
And the Sox take 2 of 3 from the first place Tigers. So, Mike, we enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It was fun to have you here, and the Sox, who had a disastrous second half of the game last night, come out today and completely